Okay, welcome to lesson 4. Lesson 4 is your assessment lesson. This is where you get to put all the work we've done together on Hiroshima and Nagasaki and the dropping of the atomic bombs into some kind of formal work that we can assess. It's a 16-mark question. It's a standard essay question that we do in history. Was the dropping of the atomic bomb justified? To put that in easy terms so we all know what we're talking about, it's saying, should they have done it? Was it the right thing to do? Justified means there are good reasons for doing this. So that's what we're looking at. Is it right? Here's some background information for us to go through, just a recap really. So it's the 8th of May 1945, Germany surrendered. War in Europe is over, but not the war in Asia. So half the war's finished, if you like. Half of World War II finishes in May, the other bit finishes in August. 6th of August 1945, the first atomic bomb is dropped in Hiroshima. Kills 70,000 people-ish, 78,000 buildings in minutes. That's what we're talking about. The numbers are slightly different depending on whose sources and whose information you read. Within 2 to 4 months of the bombing, we started to find out about those secondary effects. 166,000 people in Hiroshima died. The Hiroshima Prefectural Health Department estimates people who died on the day of the explosion. 60% died from flash or flame burns, 30% from falling debris, and 10% from other causes. Of course, what they then found out is this bomb has released this radiation. This radiation is causing radiation sickness amongst people, and people continue to die for many, many years after this. And a picture there just to help us understand what Hiroshima looked like after that bomb was dropped. This was a new type of bomb. Cities have been bombed, but they've taken weeks, months, continual bombing to do this kind of damage. This damage happened within seconds. 3 days later, the second bomb is dropped on Nagasaki, a slightly different type of bomb. Again, 40 to 75,000 deaths. And then by the 14th of August, Japan have totally and unconditionally surrendered to America. Truman says about the bombing, he says, this is the greatest thing in history. He came out like describing something that kills nearly 200,000 people, continues to kill people for many years later, describing it as the greatest thing in history. Very, very interesting. The picture there is what's called the mushroom cloud. That is the debris that is spun up into the atmosphere when these bombs are dropped. Now, modern science suggests if enough of these bombs are dropped, that debris cloud will choke the atmosphere completely. If it chokes the atmosphere completely, the sun will be blocked out and we'll enter something called nuclear winter. If that nuclear winter is severe enough that we reach minus 273 degrees, which is absolutely 0 Kelvin, all life on the planet stops. So enough of these bombs would destroy the planet without killing everybody by blowing up, by creating a situation where no sun and warmth can get to the planet. Okay, we're going to refresh. We're going to go through some of the sources we went through last lesson. We're going to look at those sources again, or you're going to look at those sources again in a bit more detail. What you've got to think about, these are your thinking questions. What reason does it give for using or not using the bomb? Who's saying it? What experiences they've gone through that makes them read the judgment? Who are their opinions out? What's the audience? We talk about the audience all the time. What are you supposed to think? Who's looking at it? Is it someone looking at it in 1945? If it's someone looking at it in 1990, is it someone looking at it today? Who are their opinions aimed? What reaction are they expecting? Is it humorous? Are we supposed to be angry? Are we supposed to be outraged? What are we supposed to feel when we look at this? Like you've seen these sources before, this is again recap information. Okay, so source 1 is there. This is from Truman. He'd been told that it's going to cost 500,000 lives. He's happy to kill Japanese civilians. He's happy for men, women, children to die in this unbombed city if it saves 500,000 American soldiers. Source 2, Henry Stimson. He was working on the bomb. A demonstration of the weapon in an uninhabited area was not regarded as likely to make Japan surrender. There was no danger the test bomb was a dud, also we had no bombs to waste. What he's kind of saying there is, look, we've got this bomb and we could have just dropped it near to Japan, somewhere where nobody lived. But that wouldn't be scary enough to make them surrender. It wouldn't be enough warning. So we had to do it on this city that had not been bombed before. He's also saying they haven't got any spare bombs. They couldn't waste a bomb just testing it, so they had to do the real thing. Again, is that a valid enough reason for the death of 200,000 civilians? Source 3, James Byrne, who was again really high up in the American government, American Secretary of State. We're talking about the people who hadn't hesitated at Pearl Harbor to make a sneak attack, destroying not only ships but the lives of many Americans. This is revenge for Pearl Harbor. The Japanese had behaved like this, therefore they deserve this. This is what he's saying. Source 4, there you go, from the Prime Minister at the time, Suzuki, who said, the 100 million people of Japan will join together to form a shield to protect the Emperor and this imperial land. You're not going to defeat Japan. Everybody is going to fight you to the very end. Therefore, the bomb had to be dropped because Japan was not going to surrender. And remember this, always do remember this. Whether it's right or wrong, it is the final thing of World War II. World War II had been going on for 6 years. Millions of people have died during World War II. Okay, some other things. The eyewitness account of a girl who was 5 years old. The skin was burned off some of them and was hanging from their hands and chin. These bombs are horrific. They generate horrific heat and horrific injuries. And remember, this is not soldiers being bombed. This is a town, a city where innocent civilians live. From an interview with the Secretary of Japanese War Minister in 1963. Again, really I hope the Japanese government here, we thought we would be able to defeat the Americans on their first landing attack, but if the Americans launched a second or third attack, first our food supply would run out, then our weapons. The Americans could have won without using it. The Americans could have won without using it. The Japanese could probably hold them on one attack, probably hold them on 2 attacks, but as we know, they were running out of food, they were running out of supplies. Memoirs of President Lee and President Truman. The use of this barbarous weapon was no assistance to our war against Japan. The Japanese were already defeated. That's interesting. That's a really high up official in the American government admitting that they didn't need to drop this bomb, that Japan was already willing to give in. Campaign for nuclear disarmament in 1985. Remember, this group wanted to get rid of nuclear bombs. A leader from the Manhattan Project was desperate to see the fruits of his labour before the end of the war. It cost $2,000 million to develop the bomb. It was difficult to not justify using it, and they wanted to test a second type. This is an anti-war group, an anti-nuclear arms group saying, no, they did not need to drop it. It was about experimenting and about justifying the spending of that money. The cartoon we've seen before, 1945, British cartoon. Don't you see, they had to find out if it worked. They were testing this bomb. There was also evidence to say that America wanted to drop the bomb because Russia, communist Russia, were growing. The Soviet Union, as it was known, was growing, was becoming more powerful. Joseph Stalin in charge of it and made it a really important country. They'd been very successful in World War II against Germany, and this was kind of a warning to the Russians not to mess with America. Updates annually, and then the latest figures I could find were 2009. You could probably find more recent figures than that. 410,000 people have died because of the effects of the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Okay, how to get a grade in this assessment, really important. You know, I'd do that's on the next slide. We'll run through and then. So getting a grade, your task is to look at both sides of the argument. You've got to in this answer show that you understand the reasons for, reasons against. Set that out as you will. You can do argument, counter argument, argument, counter argument. You can do all the reasons for, all the reasons against. Yeah, not just a list. Make it prose, make it sentences, make it an argument, a debate that you are showing. You can do it any way you wish. It says there, post a leaflet, but you've got to have the sources in there as well. If you want to get grade 4, you've identified some of the reasons, you can just give me the reasons. Grade 5, explain them in detail, compare the argument, give identity. Grade 6, suggest some reasons using own knowledge. So go beyond what's been on the past few PowerPoints, think about what else we've talked about, find something else, put that in, identify reasons, back up with a source. We can see from source 6 that grade 7, clear evaluation of both sides of the argument, weighing both sides and comparing the reasons given. Says they're very important. Well written, include own knowledge and suggestions as to reasons why. And then grade 8 plus, top grades. Evaluate the source material. Which sources are most trustworthy? Which ones do you put in where? Which one is the most important? How do you know that? How do you really pick out and say this is the most important source because? And again, have you got this clear argument? These are the reasons the bomb could be dropped. These are the reasons that didn't need to drop the bomb. Overall, this is what I believe because. Okay, there's a summary again of the sources. You can look at them, feel which ones say yes, which ones say no, find information for yourself, work it out. A little right writing frame you can use. You don't have to stick to this. If you want to write it up in a different way, feel free to do so. This is just to help you. So in the first part of that writing frame, 3 sources that using the bomb was the right thing to do. For each of the source, tell me who wrote it and why it's reliable. Then do the count size reasons against the dropping bomb against 3 sources. Then for your conclusion, if you want, you can simply work out which of those sentences go with your conclusion. It says I'll cross them out now. I realise you can't cross them out while you're working from home. So pick the ones you are going to write in. Overall, I believe it was necessary or unnecessary, which one is it, to drop the atomic bomb on Japan because Japan would surrender anyway. This is supported by source. Explain it. Pick the ones that fit your conclusion. Again, do not feel you have to use this writing frame. It's there to help you. But if you want to write it in a different way, if you want to put forward different arguments, that's absolutely your choice. Most importantly, once you've done that, email it in to your history teacher. They will mark it and they will send it back to you with your grade on it.